Hi everyone, just a quick note, this is basically thoughts per episode but actually published weekly, so it's just a thoughts on basically, but every week I'm going to watch a new episode of the series as it's released and then I'm going to talk about it and then I'm going to upload it, because thoughts per episode I think is best left to shows which have already been released in full, so I can watch them one after the other in quick succession and talk about my thoughts per episode as it happens. But when it comes to weekly releases, I noticed when I did WandaVision and then later Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that it kind of felt weird to be releasing a video talking about at the very beginning of it, like episode 1 that had just come out, even though I'd recorded it months ago. So I'm going to try this one out. Anyway, on to Star Wars The Bad Batch. This is one of many upcoming Star Wars spin-off shows, and it's probably the one that I'm least excited about. The Bad Batch were introduced towards the end of the Clone Wars series in a run of 4 episodes, and I didn't particularly enjoy their storyline. That being said, I think the reason I didn't necessarily enjoy those episodes is because I knew that there was some really intense storytelling coming later on with Ahsoka, and I felt like this was kind of a weird filler style episode at a point in the series when they really shouldn't have been doing those. A bit of context before we start in earnest. I saw the Clone Wars for the first time a couple of years ago in full, basically around the time the final season, maybe it was last year, around the time the final season was being released. I caught up to it just as it ended, and I absolutely loved it. And then I went on to watch Star Wars Rebels, and I really enjoyed that too. So despite not being initially interested in the concept of the show, I am really excited to have more Clone Wars, because this is basically more Clone Wars. It's just the focus of the show has changed from Jedi to clones. Okay. Episode 1, Aftermath. The clones of the Bad Batch find themselves in a changing galaxy after the Clone Wars. This episode was an hour and 15 minutes long, and I highly doubt that other episodes are going to be anywhere near as long. They're probably going to be 45 minutes at most, right? I should mention that the release of this took me by surprise yesterday, even though yesterday was May the 4th as I'm recording this. I didn't think they were going to release any shows. I guess I haven't been paying attention. After they announced all of the Star Wars shows, I didn't pay much attention to release dates or anything like that. I honestly thought everything was coming in 2022 and that this was going to be a Marvel year and that next year would be a Star Wars year. Caleb was a surprise at the beginning of this episode. And anyone who has watched Star Wars Rebels will know who that is, or more likely will be kicking themselves because it's been a while since they watched Star Wars Rebels, and they'll be like, I knew there was something familiar about him. But given that this show is kind of set between Clone Wars and Rebels, it's very fitting that this would kind of bridge as a gap between the two timelines. We saw Order 66 play out again, and it hurts every time. Please stop, Dave Filoni, I'm already dead. It was interesting though, because this time we got to see it without any kind of allusions to like a grander narrative happening. It was like, this is what happened at this point in the universe during Order 66. We didn't have any, as much as I absolutely loved it at the end of the Clone Wars, we didn't have any kind of like grandeur about like, oh my god, it's happening everywhere, just like we did in episode 3. It was more presented from the clone troopers or the Bad Batch's perspective of like, wait, what just happened? We got to see more of a Bad Batch in action. Obviously it would be weird if we didn't, and I've got to say, all throughout this episode I was sold on them as like a team dynamic. I know that they're like, it's an idea that's been done again and again and again, right, of like this band of misfits where they're all like highly characterized elements, like one's the brawny dumb one, one's like the intelligent one who's out of touch with how to interact with people, you know, all that kind of stuff. But as much as it's been done to death before, it's done really well in this show. I really love the idea of oh, what's his name? Not Headshot, the sniper dude. Oh my god, he has a super basic and descriptive name as well, and I can't remember it. Well, either way, I really like the idea of his inhibitor chip being one that's still partially working, so we've got him as like this tragic villain who's succumbing to it. And you can kind of see how all throughout this episode his squad mates has been like, what do you mean not following orders? We've never followed orders, what are you talking about? And just him more fervently like going down that road of like, good soldiers follow orders, which is of course a phrase we have heard before and a phrase which tugs at my heartstrings. I said earlier that this is the spin-off series that I'm least excited about, but I'm still excited about it, and I'm excited about it as a vehicle in which to explore the era of time in the Star Wars universe when the Republic is changing into the Empire, because outside of the old canon, which I never really read or looked into much, I believe we've never seen what that's like. I know there's a lot of stories which explore the time periods between episode 3 and episode 4, but I don't think we've ever seen anything which focuses explicitly on like what happens to the clone troopers when, you know, the Republic is reformed into the Empire, and how did the stormtroopers come about, and what was it like being like a galactic citizen in that time, you know? Like, I'm super excited to explore that. And Tarkin being set up as a villain is a great payoff after we see him initially in Clone Wars, because when I saw him initially in Clone Wars I was like, wait, shit, that's Tarkin. Like, I want to know what his journey is like now that I've seen him. I am also very interested to see if the Admiral dude from Clone Wars will show up, because he shows up in fucking Rebels, and he's on the Empire's side, and they never talk about it. They never talk about the fact that, like, he's only in a couple of episodes, but they never talk about the fact that he's with the Empire now, and he's not a clone. Like, he's made a conscious sorry, I'm tripping over my words. He's made the conscious decision to go along with the Empire, and it surprised me because he didn't seem like the kind of guy who would do that. And I'm hoping that they you know who I mean, the Admiral guy. I'm not talking about Tarkin now. I'm talking about the guy who was always talking to Anakin and Ahsoka during the space battle episodes in the Clone Wars. Him. Give me him. You show me him. I want to learn more about him. As for the girl, Omega, it was revealed that she was a clone, and that she's never left Kamino. I have a theory about her, and if it turns out to be true, I'm not going to be like, wow, I'm so intelligent, because I think it's kind of obvious, but I think the idea here is that she is Palpatine's daughter clone thing, who's Rey's mother later on. I think that's what they're going with, and if that is the case, I'm not sure how I feel about it, given that that is a storyline in the sequels that was very much kind of just added in for convenience, it felt like, and not given much treatment. But if there's anything Dave Filoni and his interim series do well, it's filling out parts of the Star Wars universe which were previously not very good and turning them into something more coherent and enjoyable. So if that is who Omega is, then bring it on, I guess. Alternatively, she's just a female clone and she's her own original character, and not everything has to be tied into something else. But I don't know, there was definitely kind of a hint where I forget who it was, but someone mentioned parents, and she was like, parents? Like, the idea was kind of foreign to her. The training sequence where Tarkin orders them to use live rounds on them to see how they will perform is a very good way of showing a difference between the Republic and the Empire, and the Empire's kind of ruthlessness and kind of cruelty towards people, and I guess clones and foot soldiers and stuff like that, and their attitude towards them. But at the same time, I've got to say, I don't think that this style of animation does action scenes particularly great. There were some kind of Jedi fights which were really cool in the previous series, but when it comes to actual clone trooper fighting, there's never been any kind of action scenes that have made me go, oh yeah, this is really cool, I'll come back and watch this again someday. But yeah, this scene didn't really do anything for me in terms of action. I mean, it was clever. It showed off what all of the group do best, like the sniping and the juggernaut dude and the rewiring on the tech dude. Like, I get it, but it just didn't seem that exciting to me. That being said, that's more of a nitpick than me actually sitting there and going, oh, I'm bored. Like, I was fine watching it. It was entertaining. I like the scene where they go and meet the refugees led by Saw Gerrera, and he says that there's an incoming civil war because he won't stand for the Empire and all this kind of thing. I think that's going to be something that they talk about more often. I'm wondering if they're going to meet him again. They said they're going to, like, a planet called J9 or something, and that they have one friend there, and I'm wondering if that's Saw Gerrera or if they're going somewhere else. I'm not sure. That was at the end of the episode, that part. I was surprised Saw Gerrera went as easily on them as he did, because he's kind of known for being a ruthless character, and he is often used to show the dangers of taking resistance too far, in a way. But he seemed very understanding of the clones in this episode, but maybe it's just because he's not evolved into the character we see in Star Wars Rogue? Is it Rogue? Rogue One. And we saw some of that side of him in Rebels too, but I can't remember if we saw that in Clone Wars. I don't know. But yeah, I think overall this job does an absolutely fantastic job of setting up the show. It's got me interested, which is a thing that I didn't think would happen. I'm it's surpassed my expectations, I guess, is the words I'm trying to eke out of my mouth. That was a gross phrase. I'm never saying that again. But yeah, I'm excited to learn more about this time period. I'm excited to see where the sniper guy goes as a villain, if they're ever able to save him, and learn about the inhibitor chips a little bit more and that kind of a thing. And I'm excited to see more of Tarkin being a bastard. And yeah, it's good news all round. So let me know what you thought, and I will be back next week, I suppose, unless they're releasing them every day, which I sure hope not, because I could not keep up with that. But I there's no precedent for that. I doubt they're doing that. I should probably look up and see what they're doing with this show, actually. Give me a second. Apparently there are going to be at least 14 episodes, but we don't know specifically how many, and episode 2 is hitting on Friday, so I guess I'll see you back here on Friday or Saturday or whenever this goes up. As it is, this published 2 days late because I didn't even know it came out until the end of yesterday, and I haven't got time to upload this today. So yeah, I'll see you back here very soon. Thank you for listening, for being interested in my thoughts, and yeah, see you soon.